Hello and welcome to Raindrop. We take an in-depth look at a single item, monster, interactable, or stage in Risk of Rain 2. Genesis Loop is a boss or yellow item that causes the player to explode for massive damage when they fall below 25% health. Recharges every 30 seconds.
Today we get to cover our first real boss item, the Genesis Loop. Genesis Loop has a 15% chance to replace any green item from a teleporter event as long as the boss was a wandering vagrant. The item's effect is to charge and release a 6000% damage Nova in a 100 meter range as long as you have under 25% of your health. This number includes shield, but does not include barrier. The Nova itself takes 3 seconds to charge up and then 2 seconds to actually explode. The 3-second charge time is affected by attack speed, which means that if you stack syringes, you can get that to come out faster. The detonation time is not affected by anything, so it'll always be at least 2 seconds. This is important because the cooldown doesn't actually start until after the detonation timer is finished. That means that normally, it takes 5 seconds after activating for it to start cooling down again. The cooldown itself, despite what the description says, is not 30 seconds and does not exactly decrease by 50% per stack. The actual way it's calculated is 30 seconds divided by the number of stacks plus 1. This means that rather than decreasing by 50%, the cooldown actually goes 15 seconds at 1 stack, 10 seconds at 2 stacks, 7.5 at 3 stacks, etc. So it's not quite as fast of a reduction as you might think. Having a low cooldown isn't a bad thing either, as it doesn't necessarily require you to take damage to activate. As long as you're under 25% HP when the cooldown runs out, it will activate again automatically. I mentioned lightly earlier that this attack has a very large range of 100 meters, roughly 66 bustling funguses in radius. It also suffers no fall off, which means that it will deal the full 6000% damage to anything in the entire range. The Nova has a proc coefficient of 1 as well, which means that it can proc your bands. The only downside is that it can only damage and proc bands on one target before the bands go on cooldown. The unlucky target that gets hit by the massive band proc will be the one closest to you at the time of detonation.
Combining the massive explosion with an item like Crowbar can allow it to clear out big groups of enemies. Stealth Kit also activates if taking a massive hit, which can ensure that the explosion will actually go off before you die. It's very easy to activate on Rex and the Engineer's turrets, but on this ride, you have to get a little bit more creative. Knowing when you can allow yourself to take a massive hit, like before Left and Daisy proc, is a big part of learning how to use Loop efficiently. Remember that you only really need at least 1 HP to win the video game, so you can spend your HP for damage whenever possible.